Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. I believe that we are live on Facebook. This is the day that the Lord has made. I shall rejoice and be glad in it. I am so excited about this morning. I am so excited to have my boy Johnny Lyons on with me. Today is a good day. Today is a good day. I'm feeling really good. It's been raining all night. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing good. How you doing this morning?
Johnny, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm doing
Okay,
good.
okay. So, is this your first time using Zoom?
This is my first time doing an interview in my 31-year career.
Okay, great. Well, listen, normally I asked my panelists to mute themselves, but since it's just you and I don't believe we're going to get any background noise, so you're going to be great. So that means you will not have to hit any more buttons. And I'm sure that's going to be a good
Yeah.
thing for you, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, great. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. As I shared with listeners, I am Evangelist Chanel Dunn Clark, Women of Esteem podcast radio show where we ice that inspire, cultivate, and empower. Hey, if you're listening, I ask that you share and post and let us know that you're on by telling us that you are here with us. I am following you on my Facebook page and I can actually see who's on with us. We thank you for joining us early this Saturday morning, but I have something special this morning. I have an awesome brother, man of God, who's going to be speaking on the behalf of just law enforcement. And we'll go into the introduction in just a minute. But before we open up with the introduction, let me go ahead and give God some praise by just praying on this morning. So those who are listening, go ahead and get in your position and bow your head as we go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Father, we just come right now in the name of Jesus. Lord, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for another day, Father. Lord, I thank you for this platform. And Father, I ask God that you use it for your glory and for your glory only, God. Lord, I ask that you protect and strengthen your sons and daughters throughout this world, Lord. Lord, I come asking for justice, peace, and love. I pray for every law enforcement officer that he and she be both protected in the name of Jesus. Lord, I know, God, that all cops are not bad, God. They too stand for justice and equal opportunities for all race. Lord, we ask, God, that you continue to work on this nation, God. Lord, I ask, God, that you protect every law enforcement agency, God. Lord, I ask for a covering for your children and your daughters, God. Lord, I pray, Father God, that the violence will be eliminated, God, because we don't have to resolve things with violence, God. So I'm asking, God, that your precious Holy Spirit will rest upon us, God, and we will find you and seek you in this time. It is in your son Jesus' name that I ask all these things. Amen and
Amen.
amen. Amen and
Amen.
amen. Amen. Johnny, listen, thank you again for coming on the Women of Esteem podcast radio show where we ice. I know it took some time for you to get here, but we are glad that you are here. Um, Today, I want to give out a big shout out to the entire Longview Police Department. And I want to give a special thank you to Chief Mike Bishop and Assistant Chief Anthony Boone. Um, Johnny, before I allow you to introduce yourself, I just have to tell the listeners who you are to me, our relationship. So those who are listening, please post and share this episode. I met Johnny, oh wow, back in 1983.
83.
83, I remember. I was a sophomore. I left, I graduated from high school in 1982, went to Jarvis Christian College, and Johnny came a year behind me in 1982. I met him through his brother Will, who was the love of my life back at that time, and rest his soul, he's no longer with us. We miss him. But then Johnny came along. I met Johnny in 1983, and if anybody who's watching, if we have any Jarvis Christian College family, you guys know what I'm about to say. We are a close knitted family. It's something about attending an HBCU and that relationship. You know, Johnny, I tell people all the time, I have a closer relationship with people that I went to college with versus the people I went to high school with for 0 to the 12th grade. And our relationship with Johnny, it has just lasted years after years after years.
Oh yeah.
And I reached out to Johnny and I shared with him what I was trying to do um, for just everything that the nation is going through. And Johnny said, sure, let me run it past the police chief, because we know everything has to be done in order, decent
That's
and
right.
order.
That's right.
So it took Johnny a couple of weeks to get approved, but he's here. And Johnny, so what I would like for you to do is to tell us, who is Johnny Lyons?
Johnny Lyons, just a guy who's been in law enforcement for 31 years. I started off 2 years in Tarrant County, working in the jail in Fort Worth, Texas. I was trying to get on Fort Worth PD, but my cousin who worked for Fort Worth PD said he didn't think I was ready. So he got me a job in the jail, and it was a growing experience. I learned a lot about the job, and so I applied to Longview. I got hired in 1991. Um, Done several things. I've worked undercover, did narcotics undercover. I've worked in the schools. I worked in schools 28 years with kind of disadvantaged youth, trying to give them somebody to look up to, try to be a mentor, try to help change the face of the way they view police. And
Right.
I think we were pretty successful with that. I've got a lot of kids that come to me all the time and say that I've had an influence in their life. So that was the point. And basically just working on 31 years of law enforcement, 29 at Longview, and hoping to see retirement in 5 years.
Johnny,
Family,
I didn't know that you had been on the force for 31 years. That's a long time.
yeah, no, no, law enforcement. I was at Longview 29 years.
Oh,
I've
wow.
been in law enforcement 31.
For 31 years. Are you planning to retire anytime soon?
Next 5 years.
Next 5 years. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
at that time, you'll be able to get all your benefits, huh?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So what do you plan to do after retirement? After you retire from law enforcement?
At first, nothing. Just enjoy my family. I mean, they have sacrificed this whole ride with me, and this is not an easy ride for your family when you do this for a
Absolutely.
living.
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
I'm just going to enjoy them and, spend time with the family. And then I know I'm going to get bored, so I'm probably going to get into something else.
Yeah. Kenneth is retiring this year in the next
Oh,
six
good for
months.
him.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about having him home every day. So I tell you, the Corona pandemic, it set us up for retirement because uh, right, all those years being married to him, we never spent 3 weeks
Wow.
together. And
Wow.
but it was wonderful. I enjoyed it. The first couple of days was a little rough, probably the first week, because I wasn't used to having him in my space, so to speak. We
It's
all
an
have our
adjustment.
own,
Yeah, it's an
we
adjustment.
all have our space, and
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was a beautiful thing. I enjoyed it. I really appreciate what the Holy Spirit did for our marriage. It has just been really beautiful. So I thank God. I thank God for my man of God. I thank God for God just being who he is and knowing what we need before we even need it ourselves. He just know what we need. But listen, everybody who's watching, as you can see, Johnny Lyons and we are doing our Greek thing on today. Johnny, just lean up just a little bit so they can see what. There you go. He is a chaos. Kappa Alpha Psi. Look, I know a lot of your fresh should be watching. I see our Delta sister Monica Younger Ward. She's watching. Let me see who else is watching. It'll let's see if we have any more Jarvis Christian College people watching, Johnny. Tiger, hey Tiger, thank you for watching. Tiger is one of my co-hosts. We appreciate you, Tiger, for watching. Listen, We're going to go ahead and go into the show. Is there anything else that you want to just say about you? Anything special? I know you have some children. How many children do you have?
I have 7 children.
Right.
They range from age 32 down to 10.
But the blessing, Johnny, is that you took in somebody else's children. And that's the beautiful thing. Yeah. So, and you probably don't look at it that way, but I think that's extra. I think that's extra when you can open up your doors and say yes to somebody else's child. I think it's beautiful. Now, how old are your children now? Because how old is your oldest daughter?
Ooh, Chad is my oldest. He's 32. Candace is 30. You have, Chase, who's 24. Galen, who's 21. Zaria, who's 20. DJ, who's my senior this year. He's 17. And I have Pookie, Miss Mackenzie Cheyenne.
The little baby, right?
Yeah. No, she's 10 now.
Now, how old is she now?
She's 10.
I remember when she first came into this world. Oh my God.
Yeah, she is 10, going on 35.
She is 10 now, Johnny? I remember when she was a little bitty baby.
Yeah, not no more. My little cutie pie is like almost my height.
Oh, wow. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? Yeah. Listen, Johnny, we know that. Let me go ahead and publicly state this. Just for the record, I do believe and respect law enforcement. And I do know that there are good cops. And I know that all cops are not racist. I know all cops does not approve of police brutality. As you know, Johnny, I lived in Longview for 15 years after graduating from Jarvis Christian College. And there I became a parole officer. And I had the pleasure of developing wonderful relationships with some of the detectives, Danny Butler, Jackie Howes, you remember them? And
they're still there.
Are they still there?
They're still there.
Danny Butler and Jackie. Oh my God! Make sure you tell them I said hello. Okay.
I will.
Yeah. And John Mathis, a police officer, he was our neighbor forever. Wonderful man. Of course, you have James Mathis. Yeah. James, because they're twins. You got John Mathis for the sheriff department.
That's right.
And James for the police department. And then there was many other police officers that I just had a great relationship with. What's the police chief that you had years ago? He's an African American man.
He's the police chief. Oh, Carlos Samples. Are you talking about? No.
I can't think of his name. And he may
not. Talking about Darcy Burton?
Yeah, Darcy. What was he? Wasn't the police chief?
Yeah, he was assistant chief.
Yes, well, see, they were all, when I was a parole officer, those are the people that I came in constant contact with. So I don't really know these new chiefs that you have there. Yeah, these were
they were probably the assistant chief, Anthony Boone, he wasn't even there when I got there. He's a young guy. But he's a good chief. He's really good. He's for his age.
Yeah. But and I remember just coming over, and they were so kind to me, coming over to see parolees and picking up police reports and just having those conversations with many of them. So I know that we have some great police officers. And now I've been living in Dallas for 20 years, and I have great relationships with police officers here. Ernest King, he works for the Fort Worth Police Department. Then our college mate Brenda Nays, she works for Fort Worth. I'm assuming she's still working, or she may have retired.
Yes, she does. No, she still works for Fort Worth.
Still working. And then I know we have a police officer by the name of Marty, Irvin Police, that he patrols our campus. Wonderful. So I'm just describing all these wonderful relationships that I have with police officers. Also, as you know, my home is Illinois, East St. Louis, Illinois, where I was born and raised. Right. So I do know many officers from that part of the world who are good officers. And what I want to, I want eventually for the community to connect back to law enforcement. But I know that's gonna take a little time, because we know that there is a lot going on. But before we go into the show, I would just want to acknowledge some of my viewers. We have Sarah Vivian Perry. Hey, Sarah. Christy Love. I love you, girl. I love my Sarahs. Lavita, thank you for watching us. That's Lavetta. Lavetta. Hey, Lavetta. Thank you for watching us. Carla. My mom, of course, she's so faithful. My stepsister Carla, hey lady. Sylvia Rose, she is one of my faithful viewer. How you doing? My prayers are with you, Sylvia. Shamika, thank you. Minister Shamika, thank you. McClure, thank you for watching. Tiger, my co-host, we appreciate you. Monica Younger Ward, my big sister, much love go out to you. Deborah Bullock, we work together. Thank you, sister, for watching. Please stay on, because we have some great information. Listen, I'm going to ask everyone to like and share. It's not going to take nothing but a tap of a finger to just share this broadcast, because I really believe that the body of Christ needs this. Amen. Amen. Okay, Johnny, as you know, the nation is in an unrest due to violence, killing of George Floyd, and other Black men and women at the hands of white law enforcement. Many communities are hurt, and they're feeling a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. Our sisters and brothers, because they have witnessed our sisters and brothers being murdered in the streets at the hand of the people who took an oath to protect us. And some of the people who have been murdered by law enforcement are women such as Rika Boyd, Kayla Moore. Rayshard Brooks recently was murdered on last week, shot in the back at I think a Wendy's restaurant. Then you had Breonna Taylor, who was in her bed, shot 8 times. I don't get it. Therefore, these killings have caused a distrust between law enforcement and the public. As you watched the video of George Floyd, Johnny, it was a public lynching. And if you look up the word lynch, what happened to George Floyd is actually the perfect word, lynch. If you look up the definition, what happened to him, it fits. He was lynched on national TV for all to see. What was the first thought, Johnny, that went through your mind?
When I see police killings, and whether it be of Black, white, or anybody else, first thing I look for is I try to look at police procedure that other people wouldn't understand. Like, if you're just not a police officer, there's things that goes with policy and procedure that the general public just wouldn't understand. So that's the first thing I look for, to see, did they follow procedure? Did they follow a code of ethics? Because every department runs by a code of ethics. The first thing I saw was that he had his hands in his pocket. That was the most disturbing part of that whole thing to me, is that his cavalier attitude said to me, this is not his first time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that was the most disturbing part to me. And I think it was disturbing, not just to me, it was a lot of my white counterparts at work, without thinking that they were talking to me, I'm overhearing. They were almost more outraged than I was.
Wow.
Because as a police officer, there's a certain amount of pride that comes with this job. And that is embarrassing to anybody that's in law enforcement.
Absolutely. You know, and you and I, we've had several private conversations, and I asked you a whole lot, and you were able to share some things. And I said, I came up with the same thing. I'm like, he has done this before, because number one, it was too calm. I'm like you, when he rested his hand in his pocket as though he was stepping on a bug or something, it really bothered me, and it made me aware that it wasn't his first time. That type of police brutality was not his first time. Either the people didn't they did not die from it, and he just didn't get caught. But he has done it before. And then we all know, according to the news, he had 18 additional charges, which was just an outrage. But I heard what you said as far as the law is concerned. but I want to touch your feelings. How did you feel as a Black man? Forget about being a police for right now. Forget about even being Black. Let's just take Black out of it. Let's just talk about humanity. Let's just talk about being a human being. How did that make you feel?
It's terrifying because here you are, you're at the hands of people who you are supposed to be entrusting to protect you, and they're the murderers, and people generally respect police. So no one's going to intervene to save your life. You basically are going to die in a situation where no one can legally help you. That's terrifying to me.
You and I'm so glad that you. That's one of my questions. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump to that question.
Okay.
You just brought up a point, and you and I talked about this, and I've talked about this to several people. I don't know. You know, it's so easy to say what we would have done if we would have been there, but I think none of us really know what we would have done. But I do know that there were some people who was trying to help him. They were yelling, "Get off his neck. He can't breathe. He's not doing anything." And I even saw bodies, because you couldn't really see the people trying to get past, as what I call the gatekeeper. The I can't think of the gentleman's name, the little Asian guy or Oriental guy, but I can tell that he was trying to be the gatekeeper, and he was keeping them back. And I can just imagine the people trying to help. They probably feared, number two things, probably feared for their lives, their own lives, and probably wondered what would happen to them if they jump in. So let me, so right, so talk to us.
Okay.
What type of rights do we have as citizens when we are actually seeing law enforcement literally taking the life out of a human being? And then you got a gatekeeper over here not allowing us to even, I don't think nobody would have did anything to the police officer, but who knows? Maybe somebody could have pushed him out. What are our rights as citizens to, so do we have to just stand back and watch this?
Yeah, you don't. Unfortunately, the way the law is written, that if a citizen has the right to interject and make what they call a citizen's arrest, if they're witnessing a felony offense, stepping on somebody next to the point that that's going to cause them to be critically injured or die is a felony offense. And if it's being promoted by police officers, it doesn't make it any different than any other felony offense. The problem you're going to intercede with is that once you get into that, there's these other laws that's called hindering a police investigation or interfering with police work. And so you can get yourself arrested in the same token that you're trying to help. The problem is not so much in the policing, it's in the enforcement of it. What is the district attorney going to do? And the problem is the police are doing this, but they're not getting prosecuted. And that's the scary part, because if they were being held accountable, you would probably see less incidents.
Absolutely.
And the department is holding a lot of them accountable because they're terminating them immediately. But up north, from what I understand, the unions are so strong up there that, you know, these people have a real strong representation. And they shouldn't have that kind of representation. We should have a fair and just representation, but not to the point where they can get you your job back when you are violating the law yourself.
Absolutely. You know, that's one of my questions too. I did some research and I saw how one agency was talking about how their police officers were in violation, but they wasn't even able to fire them because of the union. So my question to you, which is one of my questions on here, and I can't, I'm trying to go through the list to find it, but do you think that the police unions protect men and women who have violated the law purposely?
I think the union is comprised of ex-police officers, so they're very sympathetic to police officers' needs because they know what we go through on a daily basis. In that regard, that's a good thing, because as a police officer, the general citizen cannot understand the job and the complexity of it itself. So you have to have someone who is relatable to your situation. That's the good part. The bad part is they are ex-police officers and they are sympathetic, and they do try to see above and beyond the evidence that's visual. And you can't do that. You have to be unbiased in your approach. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But they don't respect it that way. They look at it as we have to keep ourselves in power in a position to represent so that we can be relevant to our job. So they're going to try to defend this person whether it's right or wrong. And
Wow.
that's the problem.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. And thank you for your honesty. We truly appreciate it, and I know the listeners are watching. Hey, I just want to share with all the listeners. If you have any questions, please post.
Mhm.
Post any questions of Johnny's, and I'm going through the thread, and I will be reading your post. And again, I thank you for watching. Okay, Johnny, my next question: do you believe that his death and the action of white police officers was motivated by racism?
Hmm. And here's the thing: to speak to that, you'd have to speak to a person's internal intent. And I can't. No one else can tell you what Mr. Siobhan was thinking. But I can tell you this: it was motivated by some form of hate. I don't know if racism was the hate. From what I understand, him and George Floyd worked together in a nightclub. It could have been something personal that they went through at the club. It was some form of hatred because you can look at the way he killed him. When people were trying to intervene to check his pulse, he pushed them back. He stayed on his neck way longer than force would have recommended that he do that because we have what they call a force contingency scale, meaning we only meet the same amount of force that is required to, neutralize the situation.
Yes.
That guy is 6'6", 200 and something pounds. He's fully muscular. If George Floyd wanted to resist, you would have obviously seen resistance. A
Right.
6'6" guy laying on the ground, not moving, he ain't resisting. There's no
You,
justification for it.
you know what, Johnny? I was so devastated. I remember the first
Mhm.
time I saw it. I'm working from home due to the COVID-19. We're not at the campus. I was upstairs in my office, and my husband said, "Baby, come and see this." And I came downstairs, and I think my hands just went up in the air, and I just began to weep. I just began to weep. And then, and me being emotional, I'm a very emotional person anyway. So I'm a big crybaby. Uh, believe that or not, people don't know that sensitive side of me, but I am a big crybaby. But I was just so hurt because I just began to think about my four brothers. I
Mhm.
began to think about all my nephews, friends, families, some of the students at the campus that I've developed relationships with. I just began to think about all those Black lives. Because here's the thing, you don't have to be my family for me to have feelings. You don't even
No,
have to be Black for me to recognize what
that's
happened
right.
was that was evil. And you said,
Hmm.
and I love your answer. I love your answer because you know what, we sometimes we can't judge the heart of people of what's going on. But you're right. The act was motivated
So,
by a deep hatred. It was
mhm,
because he was too comfortable with what he was doing. So and someone else, I think last week posted, said it was personal. And I believe that it was personal.
I do
Whatever
too.
whatever went on between him and George, it was definitely personal. But I love the answer that you gave. Matter of fact, I'm loving all your answers that you're giving, and I appreciate your honesty. Um, my next question: do you view his death as police brutality?
Yes, I
Okay,
mean, no doubt.
okay, and
Because
and
police
and why?
brutality is when you go above policies and regulations to affect. All you trying to do in police work is get conformity. I just want this person to conform to either going to jail, accepting a citation, or accepting my advice. I don't have to use any more force than is necessary to get that kind of compliance. Once they had him handcuffed and sitting, okay, if you look at the whole tape, because I reviewed the whole tape, when you look at him getting out of the car, they handcuffed him, they set him on the wall unattended. Unattended, meaning that if I have observation, if I'm trying to leave, I'm gonna get up and run. He had opportunity. He didn't. He sat right there until they got him up. They walked him to the other place, and to me, they was walking past a police car to another police car. That means you're looking for some privacy. They get him in the car, and then you see this physical incident happen inside the back of that car.
Absolutely.
But at what point is that necessary? Because he hadn't resisted all the way up until that point. Why would he get in the car and resist? So they do that, and they pull him out the car, and at that, the rest is history. You got one guy standing up there. He has done this before. He is watching out to make sure nothing happens, and you can look at his attitude in his face, the Oriental guy.
Right.
He truly has done this before.
Yes.
He has to have.
Yes.
Because he was way too comfortable with watching this guy do something that he knew none of the policies would support.
Okay, I'm about to I'm gonna put you out there. I'm gonna put you on the line. I'm gonna put you out there.
Okay.
You in Longview, Texas.
Okay.
You come up on the scene and you see this.
Okay.
What are you gonna do?
Our
You see the
department
same thing playing out.
yes, our department requires that you act. It's really great. I mean, I work for no department is perfect. Let me state that. No department is perfect, but if you had a department that strives for perfection, I think Longview does. And I'm talking about from the time I joined in '91 up until today. I couldn't have stayed this long if I didn't believe in what they stood for.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
so they do. And if you see that, and we've had officers who have had those kind of problems, racial issues, hatred, unprofessionalism, they are not there. That the department does not tolerate that, they're gone. And that's why I like it. You have a responsibility to act, and if you don't act, you're going to be just as complicit as the person that did it.
Yes. So what would you have done? You walked up
Pull
on
them
the
off.
Oh, okay. So you would have physically pulled them off.
Yes, because
Okay.
at the point that the guy is no longer resisting, you have no right to be there. Our policy does not require that you go any further than getting compliance. He was compliant.
Yeah.
There was no reason for it. And
You-
then
you-
let me state this: neck holes and choke holes, they were banned a long time ago. You can only use them in the case of a deadly force situation. And we train and we are constantly told that when you grab the neck or you hitting somebody in the head, in the loin area, you have to be really careful because that is now deadly force. You couldn't justify that whole situation as deadly force at no time in that whole situation. He had no right to be on that man's neck. And if it was me, if anybody, and I would like to think anybody else at that department, they wouldn't have allowed him to finish that. You still there? Oh. Okay, somehow we got disconnected. Okay, somehow we got disconnected.
Yeah, we did. That's okay. And okay, we're back. That's okay. I can't. Okay, there you
There
go.
we go. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Just a second.
There
We're as you guys, we're having a little technical difficulties. For some reason, Johnny, you're not there anymore, but I can see you. Go ahead and continue.
Yeah. Okay, I can see you. Oh no,
There
I was
you
just
go.
saying. I think that. Can you see us now?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Okay. No, I just think that I know for a fact that would have been tolerated in this department, and I don't think any other departments in this general area either.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and one thing that I can support and piggyback when you talked about Longview PD being a great atmosphere to work in, I have some great stories about even how I was treated just going over. And at that time there was a lot of of white people working there. But they treated me so kind. I've never ever felt offended. I never felt like I was treated in any condescending manner. I never felt like they were being racist. Now, the county was a totally different experience. The sheriff department, total different experience. Oh, wow. Anyway, but Longview Police Department, thumbs up. You are a great organization, and I definitely appreciate you.
So let me ask you this: Were you there when Sheriff Sterliano was there, or Sheriff Weaver?
Bobby Weaver.
Okay, you definitely should have experienced it under Sheriff Sterliano. He is totally great. The new sheriff is wonderful.
Oh, no, no. I was there with Bobby Weaver was the sheriff, and
We okay.
right. That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a
So
whole
I'm gonna
another
leave that one
podcast.
alone. Yes.
Yes,
And
yes,
those, okay. All right.
yeah.
Do you believe that the police killing Black people is a pandemic too in America? Do you believe, there's two questions. Do you believe the humanity of Black people is sometimes invisible to law enforcement?
I
Two
think. I
questions.
mean, okay. I'll go with the last one first. The humanitarianism of Black people, the humanity, the way we're treated in society, is definitely a problem, and that's why you're having these protests and a lot of things, and we're asking for different reforms from our upper government to change the views of people towards Black people, and that's simply because through chattel slavery and Jim Crow laws, and you come all the way up to, you have to come up with all these laws to try to give Black people equal rights. That means you recognize that they don't have any. When you have to come with the Voters Registration, the Voters Right Act, and you have to do all of this other stuff. Equal opportunity, employment, all. When you have to regulate the way people are being treated. You are recognizing that you're not treating them right.
Absolutely.
So we're not being treated fair in this country, and I think the protest is kind of opening a lot of eyes, because I've had a lot of coworkers that are white ask me questions relevant to it, and then I kind of better understood. I don't think it's hatred with a lot of people. I think it's a misunderstanding. I think a lot of them don't truly understand racism that we experience because they don't experience it.
Wow. Wow.
And
Hey, Johnny,
so,
do you hear
yeah.
that? Excuse me. Do you hear that ringing?
Uh-uh.
Is that something on your end?
No, I don't hear you ringing.
Okay. There is something. I don't know what it is, but don't worry about it. I don't know what it is. It just may be me hearing. There's a ringing
Yeah,
somewhere.
I don't hear it. Not on this
Okay.
end, I
Maybe
don't
it's
hear it.
just on my end. That's okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So do you believe that do you believe that police killing Black people is a pandemic too?
No. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because in this country, you have like 900,000 police officers, approximately, maybe more, maybe less, maybe more. And if you look at the fact that each one of those officers are responsible for years of answering calls of service, uh, the numbers just wouldn't dictate that. It's
Okay.
not. I think it's like having an airplane crash. Once you see it on the news, it seems to be more than it is. But let me say this. I'm not saying that I excuse every last one of them are important. Every call that we make, every encounter is important. So
Yes.
it's not pandemic. What's pandemic in this country is the level of incarceration and the disparity in sentencing. I think that's what's pandemic.
Are you in there is a ringing, and someone just posted and said there's a ringing. Are you in your police department?
No, I'm in my house.
Okay,
This is my
there is
home.
okay, is your cell phone, you have another phone ringing?
Mm-mm, no. You want me to turn my earpiece off? See if that's it?
Let's try that.
Okay.
No, it's still there. I don't know what that is. But we have, so you're saying that racism, that's it. Whatever you just did, that's it.
Did that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh God, Johnny, you've been ringing all this time.
I
Okay.
guess so.
Yes. Thank you, Mom. I knew I wasn't crazy. Okay, so Johnny, you said, do you
Tell your
believe
mama I
that,
said hi.
huh? Go ahead. She's
Your
listening.
mama said hi.
She hear you.
Hey.
Okay, Johnny. Okay, so let's go back so everybody can hear the question because the phone was something was ringing. Do you believe that police killing black people is a pandemic? And you said no.
No.
Okay, and why you say no? And then we have a question from one of my Saras.
Okay. I think because the number of deaths versus the number of interactions that police have and the sheer number of police officers, the numbers is like maybe 0.00.9% are actually being bad encounters. So it's a very low number. I think pandemically, the problem is the fact that I think black people comprise of 12 to 15% of this whole country, and yet we're like 60 to 70% incarcerated. That's
Okay.
the pandemic. Is
Oh wow. So
yeah, I think
are you saying the incarceration?
yes, I think the rate of incarceration of black people and the disparity in sentencing is more pandemic than actual murdering of black people by police.
You know what? I can go with that. I think you actually absolutely right. I definitely agree with that because you have a lot of people, a lot of African Americans incarcerated,
Yeah.
incarcerated, not incarcerated, incarcerated for things that doesn't really match the criminal offense. You have some that three times, but anyway, that's another podcast too. Okay, Vivian, Sarah, go ahead and post your question. She had a question. Can you post your question so I can see your question? Sarah Vivian, go ahead and post your question. While she's posting her question, Johnny, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next question and hopefully I can see her question because I can't see it right now. Okay, Johnny. Johnny, she said to tell you to speak up.
Okay. Can she
Oh,
hear me better now?
okay. Can you hear him better now? Tiger asked if you are in the police union.
I am. Yes, I am.
He said yes, Tiger, and can't I don't know why he asked, but you gave him the answer, so that's great. So what is that like being in the police union? What is that all about?
I mean, in this work, in this job, of course, it's a matter of seconds. You have seconds to make life-changing decisions. And so if somebody interprets that decision as being bad, you need some legal representation. You need somebody that's going to take your case and defend you and defend your actions. So you join the union because there are certain things internally that you're going to need to have some representation for, and there's things legally. And so they just basically provide you legal assistance, and you kind of paying for an attorney. That's
Okay,
basically what
okay.
you're doing.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's good to have. Okay, what changes? You say it is good. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Um, what changes will have to be made before the public will be able to trust law enforcement again? What do you think?
I think we need to, in every job, let's just be real. In every job, you got people that just really shouldn't be there.
Excuse me, Johnny.
That's
They're saying they can't hear you.
okay.
Still
Can you hear me
can't
now?
hear him. I can hear you, but they're saying they can't hear you.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What
Okay,
about now? Can you
so
hear me
the
now?
question, okay, I can hear you. The question that Vivian Perry said, the trust between people and the police is shot. What does he think will improve the relationship?
Um, I think that there's a call for action. I think the police departments themselves need to get out and get more involved in the community, and we have to rebuild that trust. We have to go out in the community. We have to have forums. We have to have meetings. We have to understand that we need to listen to the people and what they need. What do they need from us to feel safer around us? And then we need to try to enact policies that's going to kind of be within the lines of reasonableness to what the needs of the people are, because we govern on the Constitution of the United States and the Texas Constitution and laws that basically are in generalized. But you talk about a specific of police actions that people are not understanding. And I think the real problem is not so much just what the police is doing, it's what's happening after they do it. They're not being prosecuted. And so people are feeling like we have a green light card to execute and murder people, but we do
Wow.
not.
Wow.
And so we have to talk to our district attorneys, to our judges, and tell them that once that guy enters into your court, he's no longer that police that you represented as a person of credibility. He is now a suspect in a murder.
Wow. Wow.
And they need to treat him as such, because then they will get the fairest due process allowed by law for the victim, the victim's family, and even the police officer. He gets the benefit of the doubt that his actions were correct.
Johnny, I'm sorry to keep mentioning this to you, but I keep getting messages that they say you are speaking too low. Where is your microphone on your phone?
I don't know what the deal is with that. Because,
Okay.
Let's see.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, can you guys hear him now? Now you sound real good, whatever you just did. Don't touch nothing else.
Okay.
Can somebody, Mom, can you guys hear Johnny? Because you guys, you've been posting, you saying that he is still speaking low. So,
So testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now? Test.
okay, I guess no one is, they're not sending comments. Mom, can you hear him now? Johnny, say testing.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, thank you, Regina. Somebody came to our rescue. Okay, they can hear you. Oh, I hate to ask you to repeat that question, but I just want to make sure that everybody, because they said you're much louder. Okay, great. Oh, thank you.
Good.
Oh my God, I'm just hoping that we didn't they missed a lot of stuff that you were saying. But we'll go back over it. Yes, we can hear him. Okay, loud and clear. Oh God,
Good.
thank you. We'll backtrack some questions as we go forward.
Okay.
We have another. Okay, so Johnny, one more thing. That's said again because they said they couldn't hear you. What changes will need to be made before the public will be able to trust law enforcement again?
I was saying that the police, we have a responsibility to go into the public and have forums and try to address the needs of the people. What are your fears and concerns, and see if we can address those fears and concerns through some kind of policy reformations. There's some things that we govern because in general, that's what most police departments do. But when you talk about a specific community, they have very specific needs. Like, we don't have the problem of police brutality in Longview, Texas, but then you go into your larger cities, you do. So you have to reach the specific needs of the community in which you're serving. So I think we as police have a responsibility to go out into the community and address the needs of the people and at least listen.
And how do you suggest you guys are going to do it? Because that sounds good, but how are you going to implement that? What are some of the ways?
We need to have public forums. We need to have an assembly where people can openly speak about specific concerns, maybe their own encounters with police. We need to take their complaints seriously. When people come in there and they file a complaint against a police officer, it needs to be extremely investigated. I mean, we got to do more to help the people understand that we're here to help them and they shouldn't fear us. There's a disparity in who believes in us and who doesn't. I think the Black community fears, when you have a process where you have to teach your kids how to encounter the police to stay alive, you got a problem with the system. I shouldn't teach my kids how to stay alive with the police. I want to tell them call the police to stay alive. There's a whole lot different.
But you do realize that's, I'm listening to these mothers, my co-host Alicia, she has grandchildren. Everybody that I know are telling me that they're sitting their children down and make sure you got your hands, because I even do it. Man, I'm telling you, if I get pulled over, my hands are gonna go locked on that steering wheel. I'm gonna have that window rolled down and I'm gonna be looking straight forward. What do you need? I'm not gonna ask no questions. I'm not gonna de-escalate the situation. Well, most of the time they'll tell you why they're stopping you. So I'm not gonna go into that drama. Why you stopping me? I have my rights. I don't have time for it because I want to get home alive.
Right.
Eventually, if you give them time, they are going to tell you why you're being stopped. So,
That's
so we have to deal with this as African American people. We don't have the opportunities sometimes as white people when they're pulled over. Sometimes they're not stopped. Sometimes they're not questioned. They don't get the same treatment that we get. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, let
But
me address that with you right quick. When a police officer stops you, we have a thing called violator contact. There's 7 steps that we have to go through once we stop you. And we have to follow this because then it makes it fair and even across the board. We have to tell you what we stopped for. We have to introduce ourselves. We have to tell you what department we represent. We have to tell you, if you're getting a ticket, if you're not getting a ticket. Everybody has supposed to have the same introduction when they're stopped to make sure that you understand why you're being detained. So if you're not getting that and you have to ask why you're being stopped, I see a lot of videos, a lot of people asking why you stopped me. Give them a chance. They're going to go through the violator contact and they're going to tell you why you're being stopped. If they don't, something to complain about.
absolutely. Johnny, Johnny, you and I go back a long way. You know my family and I know your family. I have 4 brothers, and one of my brothers, my baby brother, he's married to Kim. Kim is white. And
Okay.
they've been together ever since I was like 16 or 17. And
Okay.
and of course they have 2 children, Lauren and Jordan. And Jordan just told mom yesterday he was in the park jogging. He's mixed, so he looks mixed.
Okay.
He was in the park jogging, and the police started following him.
Hmm.
Right. And when my mom told me that this morning, I'm like, Mom, my spirit, man, I just couldn't handle it. I'm like, I can't hear this morning because I don't get it. What is the mood? What is my brother and his wife has been together for 34 years.
Wow.
And they are a mixed couple. And the stories that I've heard that they've had to go through from being denied, from what I understood, I heard a story that my brother articulates very well. If you hear him over the phone, you're not for sure what race he is. No, serious.
Yeah.
So if I got the story right, and I believe I do, some years ago, they were looking at a home and everything was okay over the phone until they got to the location. And then when the homeowner saw that they was a mixed couple, then the house was sold or whatever, the house was rented or whatever the situation. But it saddens me to know that our color determines the opportunities that are afforded to us simply because we're Black. I have a story that I'm going to share, and I'm gonna make it real quick. I remember working for a company. I had been there for about a good 10 years at this company. A white lady came in. She had been there for 6 months. A position came available. She did not know what she was doing. But anyway, they hid the job announcement so I wouldn't apply for it. So I couldn't see it. Anyway, yeah. But anyway, they end up hiring her. And then months later, they fired her because they realized that she didn't know what she was doing. And then they came back to me and offered me the job. But no, you guys, you tried to hide the job announcement from me because from what I understood, she was white and you guys wanted her to have the job. So these are situations that we have to encounter as Black people. And one of my questions that I'm going to ask you, the simple fact that you're Black, I already know that you have a story. So explain to us, or just give us one example, one experience that you encountered with law enforcement due to race.
Oh man, Chanel, there's so many. And that's sad. I mean, you're right. That's sad. I mean, even as law enforcement, when I'm not in uniform, I've had encounters. I had an encounter here at my own department. Man, it's been several years back. When I first started, I was young. I had one of these old school cars with the dark tinted windows and the gangster rims. And I'm driving down the road complying to the law, and I get pulled over, and I'm in Longview. And the officer, I started rolling my window down, and he didn't see me. And he went in and he was cursing me out, and he was calling me all kind of names and calling me boy, being real derogatory. So I rolled the window down and let him see who I was. And I was like, that's how you address all the people you stop? Well, I reported that to the department, and he's gone. And that's why I was saying to you, like, that in Longview is not going to be tolerated. He's gone. He's out of here. They fired him. They're not going to have that. And he supposedly had a body. His body camera should have been on, but it wasn't. Not the body camera, but the car camera should have been on, but we had audio mics. It wasn't on. So he basically couldn't even justify that he didn't do it. So they fired him. And I was in Tyler, Texas. My wife and I were out eating at Chili's restaurant, and the police came in. Me and her were the only two Black people in there, but we were celebrating our anniversary. And my off-duty weapon had kind of showed a little bit on my jacket, and so somebody called the police on me. And without any question, the guy grabbed my arm, slams me on the table, started twisting my arm. And even if he found out I was police, he still kept cranking down on my arm. So it was finally an older officer had to come in and tell him to stop. And it was like just the most unprofessional thing I've seen. And I can go on and on and on. And it's really sad because you're right. If you're Black, you have a story. And you know what's funny? I was talking to my assistant chief, Boone, and he truly was kind of not really seeing this because he doesn't see things through the eyes of racism. So he couldn't understand my story. That's why he denied me coming on your show at first, because he really couldn't understand that. So as we started talking, I could see the light coming on and the light coming on. Then we had a protest, and I got to speak to the crowd, and I think more of the light came on. Yeah. And then he sat me down and he said, you know what? We have a responsibility to be transparent.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think educating people is going to bring about change. I think we have to educate people. We can't assume that all white people know our struggle.
Absolutely. You know, and it's amazing that you said that, because my husband was sharing the same thing. He was talking to a younger guy on his job, and he said that the younger guy was saying, he came to work and he was like, man, I didn't know this type of stuff happened. So him say lynching, my husband said this little young boy was just petrified that he saw what he saw. And my husband said this happens all the time, and he could not believe it. He was like, he did not know, because you know this young generation of white people, they don't care what color you are. They're not stuck on racism. It's their great grandparents and their great grandparents who are going to roll over in their grave once they find out that their little Becky has married a Black man. So, and it's just it's horrible. Like my sister-in-law, when they found out that she was married to my brother, she was fired from her job. I'm like, right. So this thing, and Kim is white, so but it goes deep. It goes deep, and it's a seed of some type of hatred to just dismiss a person because of the color of their skin. But one of the questions I want to ask you, of course, you know, and everybody's seen in the news how the Atlanta police officers who killed Rayshard Brooks, a number of Atlanta police officers called in sick right before their shift change Wednesday. And they left the police department scrambling to cover their absence. As a veteran police officer, what do you think that should have been done?
I'm gonna go back to what we talked about earlier. I did review that whole incident, and it was 45 minutes of truly Rayshard Brooks being non-compliant. And that's because of his intoxicated state. He was intoxicated, he couldn't really focus. And the officers, to me, they were super professional from the onset up until the point that they shot him. And so that's 45 minutes of that you see of this officer being very professional with Mr. Rayshard Brooks, and he's being very difficult. And as a police officer, what I see is what I see every day is that you have to find a way to keep on dealing with this professionally until you can find a way to end it. Well, I think where it goes bad is that in Georgia, I think a taser is deadly force. So if you look at the video, the taser pops, then the officer pops. So legally, I think he's still okay as far as their policy is concerned, that he can use deadly force. The federal law has already mandated that a person running with a weapon is still deadly. And so therefore running is not the issue. The issue is, do you justify using deadly force or some way to try to catch this guy without using deadly force? What I think is that I think there was another way, because with a taser, once that round is spent, it's spent. It's done. It's not a reload. He doesn't have another cartridge. You don't have to kill him.
That's my whole point, because of course I've never been tased. But my thing is, yeah, I mean, if you tase, it doesn't kill you. Does it kill you, a taser?
It can, but only under abusive circumstances. Only if you just keep tasing until you have some kind of cardiac issue. And even with that, you'd have to have an underlying. It takes a little bit to die from a taser. It's not an easy death. You can't really just kill somebody with a taser.
So you agree that it still did not require his death?
No.
Okay. So in that situation, what could have been done? How could that outcome would have been different? As a veteran that's been on the police force for 31 years, you've seen this whole situation before. This is not the first time you've seen somebody drunk, maybe not sitting in the drive-through, but you've seen somebody drunk. This is not the first time that you have arrested somebody and they're resisting arrest. Come on, officer. This is not the first time. Do we have to resort to killing Black people because they resist arrest? So my question, what could that officer have done that would have changed the narrative of this story? And then, and Brooks still would have been alive.
I think knowing the internal nature of police, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. If you let a suspect get away from you, you're going to get reeled by your fellow officers. That is just the way it is. If you let a drunk guy take your taser and get away from you, you are going to get ridiculed by your peers. But guess what? You have a job to be ridiculed in until you do something more heroic and restore your thing. But that's never going to end. They're going to tease him about that for the rest of his career, because you let a drunk guy take your taser and run away and escape.
Okay.
So well, I think you killed him out of a matter of pride.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think his pride, because I mean, when I see him shoot the guy, we have to understand the police. It's a common saying in police, you're not going to catch everybody that day. It just might not be your day. If he gets away that day, we just have to try to catch him another day. And that's maturity. That's when you learn that the outcome does not always have to be favorable. Sometimes people just get away. Sometimes they're stronger, they're bigger, they're more athletic, they just get away. Let them go.
So are you saying to me, in your opinion, it was his pride that made him shoot back?
Again, I can't judge to the heart of anybody, but I'm telling you from what I know through my experience, I think it was his pride. I think he honestly and truly did not want the guy to get away under the circumstances, because you don't have to shoot this guy because he's already spent the round and he did not hit you. And you know that taser is no longer any use to him as a taser. It can be used as a stun gun, but you have to be in close proximity. So at this point, you either let him go, and it is what it is, or you keep pursuing him, take the foot pursuit with backup officers, and you get him on the ground and you re-engage him.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I saw the video and I said the same thing. I'm like, okay, it appears that the police officer was very professional, handled him, and I agree. Brooks was a little, he was a little, yeah, and that was because of the alcohol, and you admitted that. But I'm like you. what happened did not deserve this type of outcome, because to me, a taser, come on, he could have, the boy was so drunk, all thing he had to do was walk up and hit him in the face.
Obviously, I guess he's.
I'm like, did you really have to take this man's life? And, and here's the thing. Remember, I sent you a video. We saw a video of this
Oh, yeah.
white police officer
Yes.
pulls over this white man.
Mhm.
The white man beat up the women, knock over the police officer who is white. She
Mhm.
was a female, hit her with the baton
Several
or a
times.
flashlight, and then hit
No,
the
it was
other
a
one.
time.
And what was that? Was it a baton?
Yeah,
Yeah.
several times.
Hit him several times. Then jumped in their car and took the police car.
With his wife telling him, "Don't do it."
And here's the crazy thing. They never drew their guns on this white man. You got this white man is beating up 2 police officers.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
saw it with your own eyes, because I wanted to talk about this today.
Yeah.
This white man is beating up 2 police officers. He even knocked, they on the ground rolling around. He hits the lady and then he hits the man, and they never drew their weapon. Now, had that been a black man, what do you think would have been the outcome?
I shudder to think. I think that, if we look at past videos, I would like to think that maybe it's been not deadly force, but maybe they would have done something different. Even with this guy, they should have done something different. I mean, they should have done. I don't think that's not a death sentence either. I mean, I don't think he needs to die. But when you have a stick in your hand and you're hitting me, you're more of in a deadly force situation than me running with your taser. You follow me?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, to me, in my opinion, that should have been the time that they could have pulled their guns, because he was hitting them. But I
Yeah.
think the simple fact, and plus he had got control of the situation, to the
He did.
point that he stole their police car, locked the doors, and pulled off. But
Yeah.
he is still alive.
Yeah, that was bad police work. I mean, realistically, I've been doing this for 29 years at Longview, and we have to take what they call defensive tactics. It's a class that teaches you how to deal with people hands-on to get the advantage in a fight situation. A lot of people don't have a lot of confidence in their ability to fight. And when they do that, I think most of the time they perceive the other person as a threat that they shouldn't be, because you should be better trained in hand-to-hand combat. But
Right.
if you're not confident in your ability to do that, then you're going to resort to a forced contingency that's probably not mandated because of your own fear and your lack of experience and your lack of ability to do this thing a different way. You have 2 officers there. You have 1 guy. He's a big guy, but realistically, through certain techniques, you can gain better control of that situation.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. But but that was just the perfect example of how we as African American people are treated versus white people. Because had there been a black man, I don't believe he would have made it out of that situation alive. Because he was beating them. He was
Yeah.
beating them. He was beating them. Okay. So what is the mood of your fellow officers at Longview Police Department since the killing of George Floyd? Has there been any new police training requiring the use of police force, diversity training, de-escalation training? Is any of that going on now since all this?
Our department is kind of unique in the fact that we're an accredited department, meaning that the Texas Police Chief Association in the state of Texas, they do what they call an accreditation assessment. Like, they come in and you have to have so many de-escalation training classes, so many self-defense classes. You have to have so much training in order to maintain a standard. Well, we've been accredited department since I think like 2008. So with that, we don't have to change anything. We're above standards on most everything that's required over other departments.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
and so our department takes a lot of pride in being accredited because it holds you to a higher standard. So we don't have to change much. Our standards are already higher than the average.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing. And you know, that's amazing, and that's really comfort to hear.
yes.
Because I'm sure Longview community will love to know this. Okay, Johnny, this is my next question. What is it like for you being black and being blue in
Ooh,
today's society? I
ooh.
couldn't get off without asking that question.
Right now, I think it's difficult because I have sons, I have nephews, I have people, kids that I've mentored up through the years that are not always on this side of the law. And even with that, I want them to be treated with the utmost of professionalism. Even if they are not doing what they're supposed to do, I want them to be treated with the utmost of professionalism when they're being dealt with. And I want them to respect law enforcement. That's why I stayed in the schools instead of taking promotions, because I want these kids to understand. And I work with the extremely, I guess, what you call the not so compliant children. And that's my favorite, you know. So I want to teach them that, you know, I don't care what the circumstances are, you stay respectful. And whatever the outcome is, if the outcome is you going to jail, stay respectful. Because, and I'm not saying be humble to the point that you have to kind of grovel. You don't have to grovel. The police officer is a public servant. We are not public rulers. We are public servants. And when you understand that I'm here to serve you, then you understand that the power given to me is only so that I can treat you better. And when police officers don't understand that, then we have a problem, because now you're having what they call an abuse of power.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, being black and being blue,
Ooh.
has it been a balancing act? And the reason why I'm asking, because kind of following the protest, and I saw a situation where two white police officers pulled over this black girl, and they was asking for something. Well, the girl was like, well, why are you stopping me? And they were literally going back and forth verbally. Why are you stopping me? Ma'am, let me see your ID. Why are you stopping me? Ma'am, let me see your ID. Then two black police officers came up, and I must admit the black police officers were calm. But soon as they got on the scene, the people start calling them the N-word, start calling them bitchs, just start attacking the two black guys. And I really felt bad for them, because at that time they black and blue.
Mhm.
So in that situation, so what do you do? Because I saw where somebody came up behind a police officer and hit him in the back of the head with a brick. Because here's the thing, Johnny, all police officers are not bad.
No.
You got some police officers who have walked away from their jobs, and now they're taking a knee with the black protesters. They are walking with our African American sisters and brothers because of all this hatred. So I want the community to know we cannot attack law enforcement randomly because we see a cop pulls up and he happens to be black. So, so my question to you, I know you, how many times have you been called the N-word since you've been a police officer? Right,
From
right,
the time I was in the academy to probably a month ago.
right. So have you experienced the community hostility towards law enforcement?
I think a lot of that has the way, it has a lot to do with the way you conduct yourself.
I
Like,
agree.
I have a lot of respect from the general public in Longview, and I think it's from 29 years of working at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't given to me. You had to work at it. And so I was involved in a shooting in 2014. I unfortunately had to take the life of a young man. And the dynamics of that is that he was a white male, and it was one day before the Michael Brown shooting. So you have all this controversy and up in St. Louis, in your area, about Michael Brown shooting, being shot by a white guy. Well, now here in Longview, you have this problem with a black guy shooting a white guy. But I didn't suffer nearly the retribution that that guy suffered, because the community here, they already knew me, and they knew that if I did that, I can go one step further. Me and the chief did not like each other. We had like a non-symbiotic relationship. We almost hated each other. But when he heard about the shooting, he told the chief, he said, man, I'm going home. Just let me know, give me some details. And then when they told him it was me involved in the shooting, immediately he said, I need to know what that person did to make Johnny Lyons shoot. And that's the kind of reputation you want to establish.
Yes.
As a police officer. You need to be credible up front.
Yes.
To get
yes.
to people know that if you did something, it had to be done.
But it's funny that you say that, because it's the truth, Johnny. Everybody who's watching this that knows you, that's the truth. There's something. If somebody came and told me that Johnny did something, the first thing I'm going to say, what did you do to Johnny? Because I'm going to say, what you do to Johnny? Because that's totally not his character. So even when I heard about the shooting, that's why I reached out to you immediately, because I'm like, okay, something happened. Johnny had no choice, because
Right.
you know what, Johnny, you've always been well liked. You've always had a great reputation. Even when we was in college, everybody loved you. I'm like, they loved you, Johnny. I'm like, why y'all all love him? Johnny,
Yeah, I know.
wait a minute, Johnny. We loved you so much. We was trying to make you with my sister. Remember?
We dated for 45 minutes.
Oh shit! Yeah, dated for 45 minutes.
What's funny about that though? We cursed each other out for those 45 minutes that we dated, and now we're like probably the best of friends. Like
exactly. That's kind of. That's kind of like Billy Ross and I, your line brother. I couldn't stand him at Jarvis, but baby, now I can't get enough of Billy. We laugh at each other, we text each other. That is my boy. But when I tell you I couldn't stand him at Jarvis.
Yeah, Billy's one of them people. There's no gray area of Billy. You either love him or hate him.
Oh, you hate, and I hated him. I did back then. I'm like, every time I saw him, I just wanted to just throw a brick at him.
But if you knew him, you would have loved him, because you talk about a guy that's really, you talk about being liked. Billy is rough on the outside and soft as butter on the inside. I mean,
I know that now. I know that now, but I didn't know that then. I did not know that then, but I love him now. It is what it is. He's a beautiful man.
You know
okay,
what, Chanel, being bullied as a kid, I was bullied as a kid like so many other people. And I think that teaches you what you don't like. And I think when you start dealing with the people, you keep in mind what I didn't like and why I wouldn't treat other people that way, because I didn't like it. And I think a lot of times we get a lot of problems from people who have not experienced negativity to the degree that they can appreciate how to treat people in a positive.
Yes. I have a question for you from our classmate, Bruce Terry.
What's up, Bruce?
What's up, Bruce? Hey, sweetie. Okay, it says, Johnny, what do you think white officers feel about the talk we have our children to deal with them? What we talked about earlier.
I don't think they know about the talk. Seriously, I don't think they know about the talk. And honestly, I had one of my counterparts ask me, he was offended because one of the black officers told him that he was experiencing, he lived under the auspices of white privilege. Well, he was offended because he's like, man, I work hard. I've worked all my life. I grew up poor, blah, blah, blah. And I had to sit him down and explain what privilege was. It wasn't that you live better than everybody else. It's the fact that you don't have certain things to fear from law enforcement, and other things in society are given to you simply because of the color of your skin. And it doesn't mean that you don't work towards it. It just means that you're going to have an advantage when you go after it versus me. And so once we sat down and I explained to him what privilege was, he wasn't nearly as offended because he recognized the truth in that statement. And I think, again, we have to educate people because we make the assumption that all white people know our struggle. They do not.
Absolutely. And you know what, Johnny, I encountered that too with the situation. And we assume, here's the thing, we assume too much. Bottom line, not just about racism, just about life in general. And I have learned a long time ago, if we would just sit down and communicate, we would go a little bit further, but a lot of times we just assume and we take off running. And then the next thing we know, everybody's upset and nobody know why they're upset because no one has taken out the time to say what's wrong or what did I do? What's the situation? So it really makes my respect level for people to go higher when there is a problem and they come to me and say, hey, is there a problem? Because 9 times out of 10, I don't even know we have a problem. 9 times out of 10, I may not even know I did something. You know what I'm saying? So it just excites me and it just makes me respect people when they can come to me instead of going to my friend or instead of going around the office. Come and talk to Chanel because you got the problem with me. So
but see, you're a person
really
with authority on your job, and so it's kind of difficult sometimes to go to the person in authority for fear of retaliation or retribution for asking, or maybe feeling like their character was attacked. And because I know you, and I've been knowing you for a long time, you have a strong personality.
Yes,
and I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably don't know what the reaction is going to be. But since you found God, and I mean, they understand that the reaction is going to be a lot different now than it was before you found your Christian center. And so I'm just being honest with you.
But Johnny, I get that. And you know what? You are definitely right. Because the way, and I know Mama and Sissy are laughing because the way I handle things now with people is totally different than I handled when I was younger. So you're absolutely right. But you know, I didn't know any better and I was spoiled. But as you grow and we mature and we develop an intimate relationship with Christ, God teaches us. He teaches us how to communicate. He teaches us how to love. He teaches us how to handle crisis in love. I always have crisis situations. I always have situations where I have to kind of get people told, but I do it in a different way. And people receive it because what you're not going to do, you're not going to punk me. You know that, right, Johnny?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, the inner strength hadn't gone away. It's just being dealt with differently because we talk about it when we get together that once a year. We can talk about it, and it's just funny because
you know what? It's so funny. Me and Ronnie was saying we love going to the homecomings. I told my husband we sit around the hotel room and we totally clown. And we talk about the same thing we talked about the year before.
Every year.
Every year.
It's just beautiful to see that family back together and everybody's still alive because, you know, we're missing Wilbert out of the group. And, you know, that was a really hard blow for it. Was really beautiful about it is that Irvin Alexander, he has not once left me since Wilbert passed. He will call me like once every 3 months. I'm just calling and say, how you doing, bro? And he'll pray for me, and you know, he'll sing to me if I ask him, and you know, that family union. And then I got Billy, I got Henry, I got my frat brothers, I got you, I got Ronnie. Right. You never lose family when everybody feels the same pain.
You're absolutely right, and we are a close family. The Jarvis Christian College, we are really close, and I just love that time in my life. If I can go back. Somebody, you know, if I can go back in life, I would go back to my Jarvis Christian College days because I so enjoyed those days. But listen, Johnny, I got a few more questions and we're kind of over the time, but I'm good. But listen, Johnny, you know, we've had some great talk and I love what we talked about, you and I love that realness. The question that I want to flip it for a minute. Johnny, who will protect us from dirty cops? My second question is, what rights do we have as citizens and how do we protect ourselves just to make it home alive?
Wow, that's a good question.
And it's 3 questions. Who's going to protect us from dirty cops? Because there's a lot of them out there, Johnny. How do we protect ourselves so we can make it home alive?
I think the blessing in an unfortunate incident with George Floyd, I think the blessing in that is that police departments around the country saw something that they should have seen a long time ago, is that your police officers on the outside of that perimeter have a responsibility to act on the inside of the perimeter. I don't know if you remember in California during the riots of the O.J. Simpson trial, and then Rodney. You know, they beat him, and the police all joined in like a pack mentality. You know,
Yeah.
one police all beat him, and the rest of them jumped in like a pack, and that's unfortunate. But that taught us then that we have to look at the way our mindset is as police. And so they did take that, and then they kind of expounded on it, and it improved a little bit. But now, instead of joining the pack mentality and jumping in and fighting, we're taking a non-compliant approach and just watching and making sure nobody else stops them. That's still not good. And so we have to keep evolving, and that evolution cannot evolve over time. Now, it has to be an immediate evolution. It has to happen right now. And I think what's going to protect you and the general public from bad police is good police. That's what's going to have to protect you, because unfortunately, if you get in there as a citizen, you run the risk of putting yourself in harm's way.
Right.
So
Right.
good police have got to protect you from bad police. And then the department and the district attorney has to do due diligence to get them people removed and incarcerated.
Absolutely. And here's the thing that's happened to us as African American, you know, all of us, women and men, when we are stopped, we are grabbing our phones and we're turning on videos. If it's 3 people in the car, I'm gonna ask everybody turn on your because I don't know what else to do. I don't know what this experience is gonna be like. But I saw an article last night, and I didn't print it because I was so tired, that it was one of the union reps. One of the union reps were saying that it should be an outlaw to videotape a police officer while he is arresting the person. I'm just telling you what I saw. And I was like, really? Well, but let me share something with you. Because I'm always going through YouTube and watching stuff. I saw these 2 police officers. It was a woman and a man. They had the black man on the ground, and he was resisting, but he was handcuffed, so he was kind of like rolling over. Well, his wife was taking pictures with her camera, and she kept saying to the police officers, leave him alone, get off of him, leave him alone. Do you know that they turned on her, they threw her to the ground? And I'm trying to figure out, so what did she do wrong?
Nothing. By law, you have a right to photograph anything that's within public view. There's no limitations on what you can photograph. If I'm the police, I want as many cameras on me as possible, because on both sides of this pendulum, just like people are being victimized by the police are being victimized by the people.
That's
I have
true.
a lot of times where people are not happy with my traffic stop, and they'll go down there and lie about the encounter. And so I want as many cameras on me to show that I was as professional as I could be. It's an accountability thing. You need accountability. I have a body camera. I have a vehicle camera. I have an audio mic. I want all of them on, and I want yours on me too.
Absolutely.
Because I want you to feel safe, and I want to feel safe around you too.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So I was just so troubled when they threw her to the ground, and I'm like, what did she do? So of course, it made me wonder if that happens to me, and am I going to get thrown to the ground because I'm videotaping you mishandling this child over here? And I have a habit now. When I see teenagers pulled over, I get somewhere and I pull over and I start videoing, because those can be my babies, those can be my nephews, those can be, I will pull over out of the way of, so the police officer can't say anything to me, but I'm videotaping it to just, and sometimes I'll sit there until I know that they leave the kids alone, or maybe the parents show up, because we have to look out for our babies, whether they're our babies or not. We got to look out for other people's kids, because they're not asking who is your mama.
That's right.
They're not asking where y'all living. They're not, they just taking lives. And if I can take 10 minutes to pull over to record an arrest with some white police officer handling some young black boys, I'm gonna do it. I remember being in a 7-Eleven, some teen, no, they looked like they had to be in their 20s. These white men came in And they were being one of them was trying to talk to me or something, and I shared with him that I was married, and so he said something smart. Well, the two black guys, they never left the store, and they said they wasn't gonna leave. They said, we're gonna stay right here until you get in your car and pull off. We were they, so I was like, thank you, because it was getting kind of aggressive. It was like, oh, you're a nigger now, you think you too good. I'm like, right.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, but I wasn't a nigga when you asked me for my phone number. So yeah, but I've gotten enough sense enough to know when to shut my mouth, Johnny. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was the time. Look,
That's Jesus.
people are right. That's Jesus. People are crazy. I mean, so you talking, and I'm just looking at you. Because you can talk all you want, but what blessed me is that the two black men, they didn't say anything, but they told me that they stood in that store until they the two white men left, and then they said, well, we wasn't going to leave the store until either they left or you got in your car, something like that, but and they walked me to my car, and but it was awesome to know that you have people looking out for you. And this has happened to me several times that I've been out and I'm around some brothers. I'm telling you, yeah, they are, yeah. And I do the same thing especially because this is the summertime and you got a lot of kids out, you got a lot of kids running up to these stores, 7-Eleven, and they don't really know what racism really is. They never experienced anything. And I just don't want a mother or a father to get a call and your baby is laying up here on the pavement at 7-Eleven dead because the white police officer just killed them for no reason. So it's a situation that we as citizens, we have to look out for each other more than what we are doing, I think, sometimes.
And here's the thing, though. I don't think it's necessarily always, unfortunately, Black people get encountered more than we should, but it's not always us victims. I used to work at IHOP as security, and there was 3 very attractive white girls that came up in there, and they were scantily dressed, and there was like 4 Black guys that was being very disrespectful in talking to them. And so there was like 4 white guys came up and said, hey man, I need y'all to be more respectful. And it broke out into a major fight. They beat these Black guys up. And to me, it was the right thing to do because these women were afraid. These guys they were high and they were being very aggressive and they were scared. And these guys came to the rescue. So I just think being cavalier is just a man thing anyway. I don't care what your race is.
Absolutely.
You should always be cavalier, and you need to protect those who can't protect themselves.
Absolutely.
Whether it's kids, women, or whatever.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I love your answer. You have just really, really blessed me. I have a few more questions that I'm going to ask, and then we're going to go ahead and see if we have any questions and say hello to the listeners, and then we're going to go ahead and get off. Thank you so much. We're actually over 11 o'clock, but I'm good if you're good. Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. The next question, how do you feel about the peaceful protesting? Do you believe we as Black lives will ever be treated equally by law enforcement when we are arrested or just simply pulled over for a traffic violation?
Until we change systemic racism in America, I don't think you can change a macro system until you change the micro system. The micro to the macro. You have to really change the entire system in order for the system to work. I have a friend of mine who's a city councilwoman, and she has a philosophy called CPR, and it's called compassion, pride, and respect. And her premise is that if any part of the body is sick, the whole body suffers. And so we as a body in America, if any part of that's sick, then the whole body is sick. And so until we can change the way systemic racism is viewed in America, you're not ever going to be treated fairly because you can't change the minor system until you change the major system.
And you know what? And I said I wasn't going to bring up the president, but I think his behavior his tone, his language have just set a standard and a bar to teach racism, to teach people how not to act. They're watching the president of the United States, the man who's leading this country. They're watching him be condescending to news reporters. They're watching him telling people to shut up. They heard how he grabbed between a woman's leg. They have watched him separate babies from children, telling people to go back to their country. This man has, and you know, and my thing with Donald Trump is not racism. He has no respect for humanity.
That's right. That's right.
It has nothing to do with racism. This man has no respect for humanity. And when you do not respect humanity, then race doesn't matter, because he didn't value people, period. He didn't value people, period. So I'm thinking that a lot of these situations are piggybacking off the leader of this great country. What do you think?
You know my dad. You know my dad when he was living.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't think you really knew that he was a civil rights activist back when he was younger. So he taught us a lot. He would give me and Wilbert books and teach us about our true Black heritage and things to promote our own internal pride. And I think with Donald Trump, I like the fact that he's making covert racist overt. He's giving people the platform to be who you are. And so now at my job, I can see who truly supports that agenda and who doesn't. In society, I can see now my friends on Facebook who supports that agenda and the ones who doesn't. So I've always been taught to respect the office of the presidency of the United States of America. I truly do. If I don't vote for the president, I'm going to stand behind him because this is my country. And I want the best country in the world to be the one that I live in. So I try to stand behind him. But this guy here has pretty much made it really difficult from a moralistic perspective.
That's right.
To follow and respect the things that he stands for.
Yes.
You know, and so I think with that, you have a lot of people who do respect the presidency of the United States, and they are taking this agenda and this platform, and they're using it for their own agenda, which is hate.
Absolutely.
But like you say, he doesn't really care about what your race is. He's just pretty much, he likes himself. He's an ego man. He likes his ego. He likes himself. And I think he just likes to be heard. And I think the things that he's saying is in support of what he grew up to believe, because his dad was an active Ku Klux Klan member. So what does he know about anything outside of white supremacy mindsets?
You're right. You're right.
You know?
But you know what, Johnny, it saddens me to know that you can take an innocent video of a white boy and a Black boy who's running to each other and hugging. You take that video and you turn it into something racist. It saddens me to know that he is about division rather than unity. But this show is not about Donald Trump, and I don't even want to keep talking about it, but it hurts my heart to see a man who has so much power, who constantly come up with thoughts of division. How can I separate the world now? And it just saddens me, and it saddens me to the point because you have followers and you have people who are thinking what happened to George Floyd was a good thing. There were white people on Facebook who was making a joke about they was doing the challenge, I can't breathe. Really? You got somebody on the ground and you're kneeling in their neck saying I can't breathe, and you're laughing about it. That's insane to me. To me, that's an insane evil spirit that I just don't understand. But it comes from the leadership. And that's just what that is.
And I think the leadership is your parents. I think the true leadership is your parents and the people you idolize growing up with, because Donald Trump cannot make you do anything you don't want to do. I mean, if you, I don't believe that you go grab a woman disrespectfully. I don't believe that you can stand on a man's neck. I don't believe in Donald Trump, President Clinton, President Obama. Nobody can make me think that that is the right thing to do. So I don't blame the president. I think that who you are is who you are, and what you do is your own actions to be accountable for. I think that he makes it pretty apparent that he has a mindset of a certain value system. And I think that he kind of influences people. I mean, come on, if you can drink Clorox because the president made a suggestion, then you have influence. And you have to use that influence to something positive.
That's my whole point. You know
Right.
what? Point taken. You and I are agreeing on the same thing. We just tend a little bit different. You said it. I don't have nothing else to say about that because you're right. Your frat brother, Kevin Johnson. Hey, Kevin Johnson, and Janice. He said there has to be acknowledgement by all that systemic racism exists. You're
Yeah.
right. Only then can we begin to have true and honest dialogue. He's right. He's basically right about an end to the struggle. He wasn't on when we talked about that, but he's Kevin. We talked about that already, and you are absolutely right. Basically, Johnny said the same thing. So you guys are in the same vein, and we appreciate your comment. Janice also went to Jarvis Christian College with us, and she said, if only we could stop racism, only then we will not have changed with the same results. You're right. Tim says, once we are viewed as human, this nonsense will stop. Now, Tim, you're talking. And you know what, Johnny? That was one of the things I asked you earlier. I mean, well, no, I'm sorry. I didn't ask you that earlier. That's one of my questions. I believe that I believe that some people don't view us as human beings.
I mean, the Constitution of the United States said we were 3/5 of a human.
Come on, right. I was about to go there, right? Because we talked about
Yeah.
that last night. So the tone was set a long time ago, and then you have people just carrying out what the Constitution have set out for us as Black people. We were never valued as counted as a whole person in the first place.
No,
But
we were property, actually.
huh?
We were property.
We were property.
And we were only
Absolutely.
considered people because of voting rights.
Right.
That was it.
That was it. Okay, two more questions. What are your views on dismantle and defunding the police?
I think it's a knee-jerk reaction. I think people are jumping to the gun that you have to deal with the whole for the few. Why would you stop a system that is proven to be effective more than ineffective? You just really got to hold a person accountable for the individual actions. The police department is not the problem. The problem is that I don't care how well your system is, you're going to let people in that shouldn't be there. We know that there's been a movement of white supremacists who are trying to infiltrate positions of power to evoke their will, evoke their beliefs. I truly don't ever listen to one side of a story. I always listen to both sides. I think as white people, you have a concerted interest in the power that you have, and knowing that you might not always be the majority, you have to do something to maintain that power because it is a position of advantage.
Advantage, absolutely.
But Black people and minorities and women and Native Americans, and you can go to everybody that's been victimized by the system here in America, nobody has ever asked for supremacy. They've only asked for equality. And so if you have an issue with giving a person equality that you have already made subordinate, how you never gonna fix the problem until you understand? That just means that you're giving something to them.
Absolutely. And Ashley, our classmate Janice Pratt said basically the same thing. She said, speak, and the Constitution needs to be changed. It's a document that needs to be amended. She's absolutely right. Listen, Johnny, the time has ended. It's almost 11:20. Oh my God, this has been awesome. We would love to have you back on next month if you are available. Let's talk, and maybe we can do this a couple of times a year, just to build some cohesiveness between the community and the police community. And maybe you can bring on, maybe I can have an opportunity to speak with other police officers, the chief of police, the assistant chief, whoever would love to participate, because this is an awesome platform that we can use to bring about unity and to bring about togetherness. And again, I just appreciate you saying yes. I thank you so much. And again, I want to give a shout out to the Longview Police Department. I want to thank Chief Mike Bishop and Assistant Chief Anthony Boone for allowing Johnny to come on to the Women of Esteem podcast radio show where we ice. Listen, I need to know if you have been iced. If you have been iced, encourage Johnny and write and post, you have been iced. That's inspire, cultivate, and empower. It's just going to take you a second to just write, I have been iced, or you can just write ice. That's inspire, cultivate, and empower. We thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and just acknowledge your friend Curtis Brown is watching us. Thank you, Curtis. Karen Green, Minister Karen Green, thank you. Tim Provost, thank you for joining us. Kevin Johnson, thank you. Thank you. Christy Love, my Sarah, thank you. Olivia Renee, my cousin, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching every week. Kyle Harper, thank you. I haven't seen that name since high school. Thank you for watching us. It has been, and we have a Jackson. I can't say the name. Quintus Jackson, thank you for watching. Ricky Slaughter, thank you. Billy Ross, my boy, thank you for watching and coming on. We love you. Listen, again, thank you, Lisa Joe. Regina, thank you, always being on. Lynette McDonald, one of my skating family members, thank you for watching. Vivian, my sorrow, thank you for watching. Listen, once again, if you have been iced, please post, you have been iced. Johnny, we're going to go ahead and close out. We thank you, and we will be talking again. Listen, we'll see you guys on next week. Women of Esteem podcast radio show. You know I'm on every Thursday at 7. I'm going to have an awesome show next. Actually, today has been my 1 year that I have had my Women of Esteem ministry and podcast. Yes, so we will be celebrating on next year. On next week with some awesome women of God who started with me. Johnny, look, I love you. We go back
we do.
when we was in our teenagers. Yeah. I think I was 19 when I met you at Jarvis Christian.
That's right.
So listen, I'll be speaking with you again. Thank the entire Longview Police Department, and we're out. And do you want to say something before we get out?
I appreciate the platform. I appreciate you inviting me. I appreciate everybody that listened. I hope you respected my opinions. I hope I gave you some answers. I hope I enlightened you, and I hope I gave you some thought. Because I don't think that you look at things from one perspective and get the true answer.
Absolutely. Listen, you guys heard Johnny Lyons. If we have iced you, please encourage us to say you have been iced, because I believe Johnny has given us some great, valuable knowledge. Again, we have to be able to see things from two different perspectives, and that's what he has brought today. This show, this platform is definitely about icing the body of Christ. It's about bringing unity. It's about us coming together. It's about representing Christ, because Christ is love. And this is what I want this platform to represent, love. Johnny, we thank you, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye. Bye.
Thank
you to everyone who joined. I hope you've been iced. Bye.